Connect myself. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Assalamu alaikum everyone, and a very belated Eid Mubarak to all the families who are celebrating. We are on day 4 on Eid. In my vocabulary, we celebrate for a week after this testing month of Ramadan and fasting. I hope you're well, and we are back now with the Barefoot Institute's conversations about marriage and relationships at our usual time, 10 o'clock on Sundays, that we will be carrying on doing. In Ramadan, we were a little bit out of touch with time, and we were doing it at different times whenever we could. But we are really hoping to make this a regular 10 o'clock Sunday morning. So come, have coffee with us, have brunch with us, and let's talk about relationships.
I'm not sure about coffee, lunch and breakfast, but hey, it's your choice. I hope you're well. Eid Mubarak to you all. I'm still recovering from yesterday's demonstration. My throat is still hurting. Well, not hurting, I'm just slightly off. I still think I am young when I go to demonstrations, but I forget actually I'm no longer young. My voice doesn't last that long. I remember when I was younger, it would last for hours and hours, but now it doesn't. Anyway, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you had a fantastic Eid. What did you do to celebrate your Eid this year? What was it that was special? Did you do anything special this year? Of course, lockdown is there. I know there are lots of problems and troubles that we are all facing. I understand isolation and difficulties for many individuals and families. They may have been a key problem. But brothers and sisters, whatever the problem has been for you or for anybody else in this entire experience, have you made the best of Eid? Did you make the best of it?
Yeah, Eid was fine. I didn't make the best of Ramadan, but that's for every year is a lesson. And of course, we celebrated with heavy heart because spiritually it was very difficult to connect to the idea of celebration, knowing what was going on in other parts of the world. And of course, while that doesn't dampen our spirit, we are also encouraged to be grateful and to enjoy what we do have and do the best we can to remedy the situations where sometimes we feel hopeless and helpless. On the day before Eid, I actually felt really strange. Didn't want to celebrate very much because I didn't feel that there was an aptitude for celebration for me. But I think on Eid day, following the spirit of Eid and celebration, we had a great day with the family out, outdoors, visited my mother-in-law. I think it was one of those Eids where it wasn't overplanned, but it was just nicely structured, and we knew what we were doing, and nobody got upset. So that's always a bonus. So share with us what you did for Eid, how it went for you, and one of our topics today, well, the main topic for today, is celebrating family, and in that spirit, we would like to talk about how families are our source of strength, our source of growth, our source of resilience, I guess. And one of my inspiration has been when I see Palestinian families, how they are together in all sorts of difficulties, all sorts of testing and stretching times for many decades now. But it's the family unit that is keeping them together.
There was a particular story that I was listening to. One of the American senators, I think it was Rashid Talib, who was speaking in the Rashida Talib, who was speaking at the Senate, and she broke down in the middle of her speech. The reason why she broke down, the story is very, very powerful, brothers and sisters. She said a Palestinian family slept together in the same room, and all of them lay in the same bed together. And the reason why they did that is because when the bombs will come and kill them, they will all be dead. There will be no one living to mourn the death of their families. She couldn't stop crying because of that. Well, it made me cry when I hear that story. That's the power of family. That you lie together, you live together, you die together. That's such a powerful story from the Palestinian families. And we need to learn a lot, despite their difficulties, despite all the bombs, atrocities, despite the fact that they've experienced awful apartheid, racism, discrimination, prejudice, brutalization in Gaza and in West Bank and all the other parts of Palestine. They're still together, and they're still on our behalf doing something. Today's discussion isn't about Palestine, no. So I don't want to move away from the topic. The topic is celebrating families. We've got a few our usual crowd talking to us already. Shireen Malik is already up and running, I can see. Shireen, thank you for joining us so early in the morning. May Allah bless you. Assalamu alaikum and Eid Mubarak to you. She said she had been busy hiking and visiting families. Were you hiking and visiting families in the mountains? Because it sounds like that. You were hiking in the mountains and visiting them in the mountains. If you've got hermit families, which is nice. I'd love to know.
Sounds like fun.
Ruzi Bibi says, Salamu alaikum, and good time with family and friends, alhamdulillah. Ruzi Bibi says, first Eid day, did not cook as husband made kachi biryani. Ruzi Bibi, that's not nice. You are talking about kachi biryani, you really like it.
Oh, what's kachi biryani?
Can I have some, Ruzi Bibi? Where is my portion? You know, it's the fourth day of Eid. She hasn't offered it to us.
What's kachi biryani?
I'm not going to tell you until you've tried it.
Oh.
So, kachi biryani is, I love kachi biryani. So, if you still have it, Ruzi Bibi, please tell us. We'll come and pick up some. I'm obviously teasing you. But it would be nice to have some. Shireen Malik says, Subhanallah, it is indeed. Ramana Ahmed says, follow the sunnah of the Prophet
Of Eid.
of Eid. What does that mean? All of us did follow the sunnah of the Prophet, I hope.
I don't know what she means, but maybe she can clarify.
Ramana Ahmed, please, yes, explain to us. Shireen Malik says, yes, she's got families in the mountains.
Great. Wonderful. So, celebrating families, and one of the things that we really believe in the Barefoot Institute is that families are a source of strength, families are a source of resilience and a source of learning. And one of the way we look at families and the way we work with families, hopefully in a way of serving families, is that we have a philosophy that the more you are triggered by something, or the more you are pulled away from your best self, that's the place where you go to growth. That's the place where you're most tested, because we need, as Muslims, we need to understand that where we are tested the most, it's not, the test isn't there for us to run away. The test is to rise and to become better people from that particular trigger. So I wanted, Ajmal, I wanted to ask you this question, that what is the most triggering aspect of me and my family where you feel you could grow?
Triggering?
Yeah.
I don't understand your
so
question.
So what is the biggest challenge for you to be married to me and knowing my family? But you can also see that it's an opportunity for you to grow.
I suppose the diversity that we bring together, the multicultural background, the fact that your families are not Muslims. But what I like about your mum, especially your mother and your father, of course, when he was alive, even your brother to some degree, is that they're not militant in their religion, in their approach to religion.
You mean not anti-religion?
They're not militant in any way. They're not extreme. They don't force down their ideas on you. They don't have a hostile reaction to us. I like that about them. They're very tolerant people. So I think that's a space to grow. I find that it's an amazing space to grow, to be honest with you. And the more profound thing about it is that we can do what we want. We have not done anything. Of course, we're very reasonable people. We've not done anything to alarm the families at all. I hope we haven't. I think that in itself is a great strength of your family, and I think that's something that we should celebrate. That's a good thing to celebrate.
Yeah, my family is quite liberal. That's what you're trying to say.
Not necessarily. I'm talking about more than liberal. Very accepting, very tolerant, very open-minded people. Though open-minded only as far as you're concerned. But if you were to discuss religion with them, they would feel very apprehensive about it.
Well, maybe not so much now, but at the beginning, yes. I didn't tell my family for a very long time I was a Muslim. So
yeah.
I practiced in secret for about 2 years. They didn't know what I was doing. I prayed in the dark. But I think slowly, my mother particularly came around the idea that she actually now encourages the children, reminds them of prayers. She has bought prayer mats into her house, and she has set up the scene. So when the kids were little, she used to teach them, it's time to go and do your prayers. And the kids were very surprised, how do you know that it's prayer time? She said, well, I follow what I need to follow. So share with us your stories of your families.
Ruzi is sharing already.
Oh,
she said in the future you can have the kachi biryani, she said. Well,
inshallah.
Future means what? 2 months time? Eid is coming up in 2.5 months time. So don't worry, we're knocking on your door. We don't even know you. We don't even know where you live. So let us know. It was the first time my husband stepped into the kitchen to cook something. So it was nice. He even cooked Bengali rosgulla. In Bangladeshi style.
Rosgulla is a sweet, right?
Sweet, yes, of course. I'm not too keen on the rosgulla part, Ruzi Bibi, because I prefer kachi biryani. I'm not taking much sugar nowadays. Romana's clarification is ahead. Ghusl, new clothes, prayer and food. Yes, ghusl is important. By the way, new clothes is not the sunnah. For those of us who think new clothes is the sunnah, just to clarify, sorry to disappoint you, Romana. New clothes is not the sunnah. Sunnah is to have fresh clothes. Whether they're new or old, it doesn't matter. You can iron your old, wash your old clothes and iron them and make them look good. And as long as you look smart, that's all that matters. It is not the sunnah of the Prophet to buy new clothes every Eid.
Funny, because this year is the first year we didn't buy new clothes.
I don't buy clothes for myself.
No, but we always buy something for the children, and this is the first year we didn't.
Because they didn't grow.
Well, I think I had another thought process behind it. I just didn't feel that I want to spend more money on clothes that they don't actually need. They will only wear it once a year. They don't particularly enjoy wearing, the traditional clothes, particularly my daughter. So we didn't buy any new clothes for them this year. So that was new for us.
Ruzi Bibi said she was testing my Bengali if I can read Bangla. Come on, Ruzi Bibi. I've got A-level Bangla. I did very well. Actually, I got 98% in my coursework. I was so good in Bengali. Some of it I've forgotten, but my Bangla is very good still. English, hopefully, is good too.
I still want to know what kachi biryani is, so please do let us know, because my husband is keeping the secret from me. So
well, I'm not going to tell you.
I'm very intrigued now. What could be this amazing kachi biryani?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if somebody wants to give my wife a tutorial on kachi biryani, please go ahead. But let's move on. Yasin Al-E.
Khandawala. What a lovely name. Eid Mubarak, sister and brother, and everyone watching. Eid Mubarak to you as well.
Khandawala, that sounds like somebody who's from...
Sri Lankan?
No.
No?
Gujarat. Gujarati people are normally the Wallas or Indian people.
Okay.
So India or Gujarat. Wherever you are, Sister Yasin, welcome. Allah accept our fast. Ameen. Aisha Begum says, Salamu alaikum wa alaikum assalam. Ruzi Bibi says, kachi biryani took up 5 hours to cook.
Oh, wow.
There you go, 5 hours of cooking.
5 hours. Share with us why your husband decided to cook this Eid, because I assume this is you all the time cooking. So what happened? Something must have shifted. You just put your foot down and say, I'm not cooking this year. I didn't cook this year either. So we...
You did?
Well, I did a little bit, but...
You call that a little bit?
What did I cook? I made salads.
Yeah, that's a lot of salad.
Well, I made good salads. I made Thai salad. I made a
Arab
Lebanese
salad.
Tabbouleh. So it was lovely to share.
Yasin says, yes, correct. I am Gujarati.
Gujarati
or Indian.
Okay.
I think you're Gujarati because a khand, I don't know what khand wala mean, but I know most of the walas have got a title by their profession. So ghee wala means somebody who used to sell butter. Chai wala, somebody who's selling tea. Bangla wala means somebody who used to have a bungalow.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, correct. But these were the Indian times, or those old times when the British were ruling. Aisha Begum says, Eid Mubarak. I'm reading both together. Ruzi Bibi says, MashaAllah, brother, you have what? Or Alveli, also proud of myself, got a star. Yes, of course, alhamdulillah. Right. How did you celebrate Eid, and how do you celebrate Eid? What are the strengths of your families that you like celebrating? That's, I think, more important question for today. What are the strengths of your families that you like celebrating?
We have this thing in the Muslim community. We are so good at pointing out troubles and issues and challenges, and it is always there, but we're not very good at celebrating ourselves. We think there is something, I was running a writing group a couple of days ago, or yesterday, and it just really comes to the fore that we are not very good at taking compliments. We are not very good at sharing proud moments of our families, because we think it's boasting, and of course there's a difference between arrogance and confidence. It's a very different take, but we are not very good at celebrating what's worth celebrating in our family. It's so much easier to look at what's difficult, what I can't handle, what I can't deal with, I can't be bothered, I can't do this, instead of looking, what are the gifts in every individual in our family.
Motabbir Hussein is being cheeky. Salam, I think you should get Brother Ajmal to cook you kachi biryani for the next Eid.
Well, that's your challenge then for next year. It's already
Yes,
set.
yes,
Put that in my diary next
sure,
year.
Motabbir Hussein. I'm going to be leading Eid prayer. I'm going to do lots of Imam's duty, and you think I'll have the time to come and cook for 5 hours?
You can do it the night before.
I don't think I'll have the time.
Oh, I'm sure we can do it the night before.
I don't think I will have the time. But nevertheless, it's Motabbir, if you're so loving and caring of our family's Eid food, I challenge you to make kachi biryani and deliver it to us. What do you think of that? I don't know what Mutabir Ali Mustafa Hussein is, but there's a challenge in your court. Anyway, strengths and weaknesses of a family are some of the things that we often miss. But like Anna said, we don't celebrate enough of the good things. We don't take compliments. We don't give compliments. So tell us about your strengths. So my overall family, my mother, my brothers and my sisters, I've seen family bicker. I've seen family fight and fall over. We haven't done that. I think that's a strength. We do argue. We do have our differences, of course. But we haven't fallen out of one another. We have not stopped talking to one another because we're very, I don't know, we haven't done that.
One of the things I love about your mother, I always did, is that she's not gossipy. She doesn't gossip about, she would pick up what's happening in Bangladesh, and she would share news and stories, but she doesn't gossip like I know a lot of women who struggle because their mother-in-law would go behind their back, and then they would say things behind them, and they would literally cause a rift because they are either bitter themselves, or they are bored and they don't know what else to do. They have so I really like that about your mother, is that I never have to worry about her or thinking or even contemplating that she would go behind my back and say things that are damaging my integrity. And she does that with all of her children. She does. When she has a complaint about somebody, she would ask for help, and she would talk to other members of the family, but it's never in a gossipy way. There is no, that bitter, yellow, awful, terrible sense that I know a lot of families struggle with. So
yeah, so that's one thing, alhamdulillah. Thank you.
That's wonderful.
You asked me a question which I should have asked you the same.
Oh, yes. So just for you to know, I am from a family of just two of us, my brother and me, and I don't have a particularly close relationship with my brother because we moved away. I moved away very early on, so I lived in a boarding school, and we never lived in a close setup. So you can imagine after that, so I built up my life. I was independent, I was working, I was doing my thing, and I got married to a family of 6 brothers and sisters, mashallah. Everyone is married and have children and families of their own. So literally,
it's a huge family you've got married.
Massive. And so when we get together just for a simple Sunday lunch, it's in my vocabulary, in my culture, it's like going to a wedding. So when my husband's family is coming over for lunch, it's always just a simple lunch. Yeah, it's of 20 of us sitting around the table. So you can imagine the dynamics. And so that was for me a very difficult, at the beginning, it was very difficult I used to think you guys are fighting because you were so loud. And I always thought they're fighting about something. What are you arguing? Well, no, we're just talking. So, we are very soft-spoken.
Imagine 6 people making noise in the same room, and you've got your parents, and you've got your children,
and everyone has their own families,
and they're
together,
all talking at the same time. It sounds like a massive, big bazaar, of course, but nevertheless.
I used to call it Masor Bazaar.
What was your point of growth then?
It is still, and I think for me it's a very, very important place to be, because here, if you don't have your opinion, if you don't stand up for what you believe, then you just get lost. And that's something I never learned when I was young. I was shut down, and every time I needed to ascertain myself or stand up for myself, I just didn't do it, because I was literally the kind of girl who would sit in the corner and say nothing. In this family, if I sit in the corner and say nothing, I would be completely lost.
That's what the first thing I told you. You're an adult, you're a powerful woman. Take your own responsibility. I'm not going to do things for you. You negotiate, you discuss.
And this is something that, we need to probably discuss, that there are a lot of people who come to us. What do I do? How do I deal with my in-law side of the family? Do I approach them through my husband? And I always say to people, don't, because your relationship with your in-laws is your relationship. If you have an issue with your sister-in-law, you don't have to go through your husband. If you have an issue with
In fact, you should never leave your husband out or your wife out. If you've got a problem with your in-laws, go directly. You're an adult. That's exactly what I said to my mother and my wife. You guys are adults, deal with it. I'm not interested. Oh, I need translation. Well, get somebody else to translate. I'm not going to be in between the two of you. If you are children, yes, I'll mediate, but you're adults. And alhamdulillah, I'm so glad I did that. I didn't get involved, and they got on with it. They can pick up the phone and they can talk to one another. They can go and see each other. If you got translation if you need translation, Hannah doesn't need translation anymore, not anyway, substantially. But either way, it's two adults' relationship. Let them deal with it. If you have to mollycoddle them, cotton wool all around them and protect them, then there's something wrong. You're overwhelming them. You're smothering them. Why would you want to do that to adults? Shireen Malik says, we are very honest with one another, alhamdulillah, and try to resolve matters between ourselves quickly and seek forgiveness if we think we have hurt one another. I think this is why we are a close-knit unit, mashallah. That's fantastic. And that's a very good point, actually, to be able to speak honestly and to be able to then forgive and move on. Shirin Malik says all families have differences, but it is how we deal with those differences that matter. It is absolutely right. Motabbir Hussein, in a public program, in a live program, you're making a promise that you're going to be bringing me a kachi biryani next Eid. We don't know your details, but your photograph is quite clear and your message is clear, so I'll hold you to it. Ruzi Bibi says, mashallah, Shirin Malik, wonderful. What about you, brothers and sisters? What is your family's strength, and what have you found the most, best space for growth within the family? The strength that enabled you to grow. In your case, you said?
In my case is to
be able to directly talk to them.
Well, that's one thing, but also being in a space where there are a lot of people, and I automatically would feel very much left out, or I don't speak the language adequately. There is a lot of cross communication, and I get lost in it, and I feel like I'm completely out of place. So that's for me a very important part. The other part is that because it's such a big family, the standing up for each other, which I never had when I was growing up. Whatever happens, if there's a difficulty, all 6 of them drop everything, everyone is there. I remember when my daughter was born, within 20 minutes after the birth, the entire family was in the hospital. So these are the things that I'm not used to, I have never been used to. And of course, this opens up a whole lot of things to grow. I would have been a lot more insular, a lot more, inward, in dealing with my things by myself, as opposed to having a collective.
I am the eldest. Ruzi says, I always used to go up to my younger ones and apologize, even if it's not my fault. I was
taught like that when I was young by my mother, that it won't harm me and I won't lose out. Is this good or bad?
Well, constantly apologizing may make you look like somebody who apologizes for nothing or for everything, and therefore you may not be taken very seriously. But also, there is a positive side to it, and that is if you're readily available to apologize, then it means you don't have too much of an arrogance and ego or a stubbornness that dominates your brain. Do you find it difficult to apologize? I think that could be a good question to ask one another. In a family environment, do you find it difficult to say, I'm really sorry I did that? Do you find it difficult to say sorry?
I do.
I know you do.
I do.
I don't understand. You're not an arrogant person, and yet you find it very difficult to say sorry. Why?
I think what I realized in Ramadan is I grew up in a family where arrogance for us is not active arrogance. My family has passive arrogance.
I see.
And I think there's an arrogance in the soul that it's not a fault of my parents, or it's no one's fault. It's just we don't have that, because I was not growing up with the idea of forgiveness. We don't have that in our soul. It hasn't sipped in our soul to not to be arrogant in the soul. There's a difference between being arrogant and being out loud, really offensive and thinking that you are better than anybody else. But there's an arrogance of the soul when internally you feel, oh, I don't need to apologize, I didn't do anything wrong, or not seeing what you are doing. Not your soul is involved in thinking, oh, I am better, I don't need to apologize.
And this in itself could be very dangerous, because some relationships actually do get very damaged. And how many times is a person going to take a no apology as a stance, as an acceptable stance from anybody? Eventually that person would say, hey, really sorry, but you're not saying any sorry, or not apologizing for your behavior. So this is a good point, Ruzi, baby, you've raised, and I'd like it. You do say sorry, which is very good, but if you say sorry all the time, I wonder if your siblings take you very lightly because you say sorry, and they know you'll always say sorry. Actually saying sorry at the right time, in the right way, in the right manner is important, but not saying sorry is a problem. I agree. So it's a balancing act between the two. Shirin Malik says, I find my elder siblings do find it difficult to apologize. I am the youngest. I see. There you go. And Ruzi Ruby says, I never found it difficult to apologize, either my fault or not, as long as I was able to keep peace with. That was the kind of mentality I had. Shirin Malik says, I think because they take an authoritative role. Whichever way you are, your family's strength is what you celebrate. And your family's weakness, you come together and try and heal in order for it to become a positive trait of your family, or at least a powerful trait of your family.
Well, just like with everything, the two extremes are never going to work. If you are apologizing all the time, surely that is not the case. But if you never apologize because you never think you've done anything wrong, surely that's not the case. There is always the middle ground. We are called the middle nation for a reason. This is, the place where you realize that for the things that you have done, you apologize for, and for the things that it's not your fault, you set the record straight. So the two extremes are never going to work, I don't think.
So apology is good, but apology in balance is very important. But no apology is not acceptable at all. That's what we're saying. Anyway, we're talking about celebrating families. I also love the fact that we've got lots of children, more the merrier in my view. I don't know about you, but I'd love to see our family grow even bigger. My brother just had a little baby the other day. Alhamdulillah. Was it 2 days before Eid?
Something like that.
Yeah, very, very close to Eid baby, we call him. And alhamdulillah, no, actually, longer, more than...
It was about a week before.
Yeah, a week or two before, alhamdulillah. His name is Zaid, alhamdulillah. The mother and the baby are doing very well. Unfortunately, my father then, a week or two later, cut his foot very badly.
Not your father,
my brother.
Your brother.
Sorry, my brother then, I said my brother. My brother then cut his foot very badly. So he's now pretty bedbound. But all of these are strengths. So he called me up in the evening in the month of Ramadan while I was doing my program, saying, can you come and pick me up from the hospital? I did. I said, yes, I'll come. These are the things that you lean on one another. It's called the leaning effect. You lean on one another to balance out your families. Can you lean on anybody in your family? Can you rely on your family members? Do you think your family members will be there? If you lean on them, will they just move away and you fall? Or would it be that you lean on them, they're weak, too weak, and that will crumble them? What about that? How about leaning on each other? Is that a strength in your family?
I think for us it's definitely a strength. I know that the kids, you can always rely on me. I'm always available. Very, very few times when I have to put my foot down, I can't do this, but very, very few times I'm available emotionally, I'm available physically. One of the things that I celebrate within our families is that when the kids were little and we decided to homeschool them, this week I was having a conversation with my daughter who's doing a GCSE next year. So she's preparing. So they had to do this test. I don't know, did I share it with you? They had to do this test at school to look at what is their strength and how they are going to move forward in their career. And she came home and she was really upset. She said, oh, I don't understand. They got me completely wrong, And I said, what happened? She said, well, I did the test. I know the test very well. It was a psychometric test. I think the Myers-Briggs, similar to Myers-Briggs. And she said, because I know why they are asking the questions, I gave them answers and they got me completely wrong. I'm nothing like the person who will be sitting in a company, not taking leadership roles. She said, have they met me? And she said to me, I only study my GCSE because I have to. To be able to go forward, I need to do it. They don't teach it properly. I'm not enjoying it. They didn't teach me anything apart from how to pass a test. And then she said, I really love the way, well, we were having a conversation and she said, it was so much easier when we were homeschooling. I could study what I wanted to do. And I said to her, go to the interview with this person who's going to talk to you about the result and just tell them what it is that you are doing it because you have to fit in, you have to do whatever, but your strengths are not coming out through a test. So me being available for my children when they were young, at the time I didn't feel that it has such an impact. But now she's 15 and she's, her mind was set at the time when she was home educated. Same with my son. There is something that is so important. So if you have young children, make sure that you spend as much time as you can with them because you are molding the way they think about themselves.
There could also be an element of where we call her a Pondit or Pondit in Bengali, which means somebody who thinks she knows everything. There could be an element of that, and that is she's preempting the outcome of her answer in her personality test.
So that's what she was doing.
So she's saying, okay, this is the question. If I answer it this way, this will be the outcome. If I answer it that way, that will be the outcome.
That's right.
And because it was predicted by her own mind, that's why her personality test got made. She feels they got it wrong. They didn't get it wrong. I believe she got it wrong. She should not have answered it that way. You go into a personality test and you answer it objectively without predicting what's going to be the outcome. Am I going to be seen as as a dynamic, as a leadership quality, etc.? No, you just let go of all of that and try and answer it. It's not easy. I understand that, but that's our personality. We have a daughter who's very headstrong. We have a son who is completely different. He has got creative streak within him. He likes design. He designs our posters. He likes technology. He likes these very mechanical and yet very creative things. And we have to find out the best way of managing them. What are your leaning theories? What leaning impact do you have on your family? Or I believe for myself, anybody in my family calling me up anytime they need my help and support, they know that I'm available and I will be there for them. I can fix most of the problems. I'm a problem solver in the families, in the crisis time. I can manage most crises, alhamdulillah. My family know that. I hope they do.
I'm sure they do.
So that's mine. What about yours? Some messages have come. Fatima Hamza says, Assalamu alaikum. Eid Mubarak to you, Fatima. Wa alaikum assalam. Yasin E. Kandawala says, we lost an immediate family member due to COVID on the 27th night of Ramadan. May Allah have mercy on the soul of the person who passed away. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Since then, we have been inundated with calls from all families and friends, alhamdulillah. With their support and prayer, an example of leaning, I suppose it is a very good point actually, especially around death. Entire family leans on one another. So when my father died, people from all over the country just suddenly turned up. People I'd never seen before. And with buckets of food, pots of food, constant supply of food for at least a week. My mother became fed up of food at home. She said, please stop now, we've got too much food. But it's all about leaning. Others were caring, neighbors, everyone was giving because they wanted to help and support. They wanted the bereaving family to have some space, which is wonderful in our society. I like that. The Muslim society is good at this. I think this is a great strength. Leaning is very important to be able to not just provide for food and not just be there for crisis, but also to be there when there is no crisis. That's the difficulty.
Yeah, that's a challenge, and it's about how do you make quality time. I've really missed the times that we used to have, and once a month we would gather for lunch in our house, so I can showcase my new dishes and serve my food. And
you and you're showcasing your new dishes. My wife is
I love dishes.
Addicted to
pottery and crockery and
not crockery, just pottery. You just like Moroccan, and you like North African pots. You know, the tagine pots, serving pots, decorative pots, that kind of things. So if you want to get rid of any of them, just let my wife know. She'll come and pick them up.
So let me share you a story with you. Ajma can't stand when I start doing all these serving.
Because I have to wash at the end.
Well, I put napkins, and I like setting a table because I believe that when you sit down to a table, you have to beautify it because the food tastes better.
No, it doesn't.
It does. And you're honoring family, that you're honoring the time together. You put some nice, decoration on the table, and I did that every single night of Ramadan. So I didn't cook a lot of food, but I cooked fresh food, and we had a lovely table set every single night of Ramadan. Ajma can't stand it, but I think it's for him. For you to grow, it's an area to grow.
I can stand the food, but I can't. What I find, and not diminishing what you've done, what I find, what's the point of putting food in bowls and pots that are impractical? You can't store those bowls and pots after you have eaten the food. If there's any leftovers, you have to transfer that to a new pot.
That's fine.
No, it's not, because I have to wash two pots then. What I prefer is you put the bowl in a pot where you can then store it straight away. There are glass Pyrex dishes we've got cover. Put them in there, serve, eat, put the cover in, put them in the fridge.
No aesthetics at all.
Who cares about that?
Aesthetics
just
is
eat.
important. And I think it's a way to show honor to the food, honor to the family, honor to the people. So it's a nice way to grow for you.
No, I think food is only to be survived. For food, I only eat because I have to eat. I'm not a foodie person, so therefore I don't do this honoring of what do you call these decorative stuff on the plate or on serving. I would be quite happy to eat from the pot in which you have cooked.
Oh, I can't stand. I know we had guests a couple of times when you said, "Oh, just put the pot in the middle of the table." I would never do that. In my culture, putting a pot that you used for cooking the food, it's the biggest offense you can do to your guests. It's just not done. It's not something
you think the guests don't know where it's been cooked?
No, it's not about the guests not knowing. It's about you sit down in a nicely set table and you don't want to look at an ugly pot that you.
Oh, our pots are not ugly at all. They're beautiful.
Well, anyway, share us. What do you do? What do you do with your family? How do you celebrate? How do you see the differences? And instead of seeing the differences, and this is our key message really, instead of seeing the differences between you and other family members, how do you grow from them? Because it's about finding that middle ground. It's about finding a way where both of you feel you can lean in with each other and understanding that we are different, but what can I grow from a different perspective. It's always about expanding our horizon and expanding. Why are you laughing?
I'm laughing at your fan club. Shireen Malik says she totally agrees with Henrietta.
Yes, thank you.
Of course you would, Shireen. My wife must have bribed you to agree with her.
If anything, Shireen probably bribed me.
But either way, if you invite us to your house, I'm not going to be having. I'm not going to be bothered if you serve it in a pot. No problem. Just bring the cooking pot out. I'll eat from it. It's no issue for me. Let's take a quick detour. Our book. Have you celebrated your marriage this year? If you haven't, this is the time to do it. Buy the book, please. We still have loads of books we have to get rid of. When I say get rid of, get them sold. So tell people, share this information with other people, and let's see if we can get this book sold in many copies if possible. So go to our website, www.barefootinstitute.com/bookstore. You can order my book. At the moment is available, and my wife's book, which is?
So my book is Heart Smart, if anyone is interested. And what I did in this book is I go into neuroscience, I go into brain, and it's more for self-discovery, but for the sake of how do you create connections with other people by understanding yourself better and deeper. So
I suddenly realized the room has gone darker, so I looked outside and realized, okay, cloud is just gathered in front. The sun was out a minute ago, alhamdulillah. Ahsan Chowdhury is joining us. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahsan, thank you for joining us. Ahsan is to be a regular quiz participant.
Oh, great.
Without a miss, he always was there, alhamdulillah. And we did a good job. Whole month of Ramadan, alhamdulillah. Thank you for all your support, brothers and sisters. So if you haven't bought our books, please go on the website, at least order 1 copy, if not 2, 3 copies. There are so many people getting married this summer. Give them a gift. Every person who's getting married, any member of your family who is already married, even yourself, you deserve to have a book, and you can refer to it, you can read it, you can analyze the book, and you can give us your feedback. Honest feedback is something we don't mind. We really do like your honest feedback. So we've had honest feedback from various scholars, for example, Sheikh Haytham Tamim, Dr. Yasir Qadi, Dr. Akram Nadwi, Fatima Barakatullah. Many of them have given us amazing feedback, alhamdulillah. So please do give your feedback and publicize it. But let's get back to our topic.
Shirin is asking, would it be possible to personalize them? Absolutely. I have 2 nieces getting married shortly, and I would like to give them your book. Absolutely. Let us know which book, and we will sign it. We will give personal messages. We always sign the books, whichever we send out. So feel free to share this information with other people. You can
Shireen,
also
just send me a message as soon as you've ordered the books. Go on our website. Just send me a personal message on my phone number or our email address. You have both, and I will make sure I sign and personalize the book in terms of messages. So definitely, and Henrietta does exactly the same thing. So whoever wants to buy, you can buy them together, you can buy them separately, you can buy multiple copies. All copies we will sign, and if you've got a personal message to write, I'm quite happy. We're very happy to write them with a special marriage pen that I normally carry.
marriage pen. What is that?
This is the pen where most people who are getting married use to sign their documents when I do the nikah.
The nikah pen.
It's called the nikah pen. Yes, correct.
Excellent.
Yesterday was leaking pretty badly.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know. I was blue all over. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, so thank you, Shireen. Just let us know when you've ordered, and we'll put them in the post for you as soon as we get your order. Anyone else wants the same? That's available for you too. Let's go back to your strengths and weaknesses. How do you celebrate the togetherness that you have been together for, as in terms of families? 20 years, 30 years together. You've got children, husband, wife. You've got in-laws, you've got fathers, your mothers, brothers, sisters. There should be something about family celebration. I think there should be a family day. There is a Mother's Day, Father's Day, Valentine's Day,
I'm sure there
Wives'
is Family
Day,
Day somewhere.
Wives' Day, Husband's Day. No, they haven't got one yet. I think we'll need to create one, especially Husband's Day. But I think what we also need to create is a family day, a day of celebration, reminding each other that we are families. I don't want to make it commercial. The problem with making a family day is because
people start selling stuff, and then you get the merchandise and all these things. Anyway, how do you bring celebration into your family? What are the things that you will be doing differently from today onwards? How do you move forward? How do you bring celebration into the conversation? How can you create a change, a cultural change within your family if you have never celebrated anything? If you're not very good at complimenting each other, how are you going to bring it in and change that for your family and for yourself?
This is the problem. Complimenting each other has become a major hurdle for a lot of people. And I think it's important that you do. But before you even compliment one another, exchanging gift is the best way of getting closer to the other person, even if it is a small thing. I think. I find gifts very powerful. How do you find?
Oh, I'm very conscious that so two things are going in my mind about this. One is that I think we have become desensitized to compliments because everyone lives in social media, the world of social media, and likes and, posts are giving you a constant set of dopamine that you feel like, oh, great, people like my post, people like my post, people like my setup, people like my X, Y, and Z. So we become desensitized when someone on our face is telling us, I really appreciate you for
Who you are,
whatever quality, because social media is all about what you have. It's not who you are. It's people compliment you on a new pair of shoes or a new, people are showing now their bedrooms and the new sofas and how they do. That's all wonderful, but that's not who we are. Who we are is our essential nature, and you can never, I don't think you can never come across that with your being on social media.
Shireen is reading our mind. She said, I think giving unexpected gifts to members of your family can strengthen bonds too. I just said that. Yes, you did, Shireen. I didn't even see it.
She said, I just said that.
I know. It's a very good point, actually. We agree. It's fantastic that great minds think alike and fools never disagree. Oops, sorry. Did I say that? I'm just joking. It's true, actually. And I think it's important to celebrate. Compliment, celebrate, and give gifts. Compliment, celebrate, give gifts. I think those are very key messages that we have for you. What was the last gift that you received? I actually received a very nice gift from my sister-in-law on Eid Day, which was a bike lock.
Right.
A nice bike lock, actually, an unusual one. And I thought that was a nice bike lock because she knows I like my bikes. That's the only vice I have in my family.
And your cameras?
No, I don't. That's not my camera. I don't use them just for this kind of shows. But my biggest expense in my life, if I was to spend on anything expensive, is not even a car. My car is less valuable
than your
my
bike.
One of my bike is more valuable than my car. My car is worth about £800. I'm very happy to ride it. No problem. It's just a machine that goes from A to B, and it does the job. But what I actually do like is my bike, and so my sister-in-law thought about it and gave me a lock for my bike, which was very nice. What about you, brothers and sisters? What is it that you feel that connects your family, or you connect with your families? How? What works for you? Love to hear from you. What works for you when it comes to connecting and celebrating? What about you? What works for you?
What works for me is probably time spent together more than anything else. I am less and less about material gifts and buying stuff, and I actually really feel that it's not about that anymore. I started to buy clothes that are sustainable, so I buy much less. Some of the items are a little bit more expensive, but I don't have to buy that many items, so I don't shop in places where everything is £2, £3. Not because I'm arrogant. I just think that the quality and how those products are being made are probably not ethical. Most likely, but also what goes into them, and because of the quality you have to keep changing. I used to shop in Primark. I never shy away from saying Primark is a great shop, but the quality and how it's produced now, I started shopping at it much longer, 10-15 years ago, when it wasn't a big hit, but the quality was so bad that I had to keep replacing jumpers and trousers, and
that's the idea.
But I became a lot more conscious about environment and the impact. I don't want to leave a whole pile of clothes behind me when I die.
It's true.
So I'm not into gifts anymore. I would rather go for experiences. If anybody wants to buy a gift for me, I would rather get the experience of doing something together. Having an experience and sharing time for me is more precious than buying gifts.
Absolutely right. Yasin says, I think gifts to children in Eid, no matter how small, will always be remembered throughout their lifetime. I certainly remember the gifts I received when I was young. Believe it or not, Yasin, I am old. I still love gifts.
You never used to like gifts before.
I do. I always liked gifts.
Did you?
Yeah. I've always loved gifts. Not a problem. You don't have to fuss about it. You can give me a gift anytime you want. No problem. But there is a nostalgia. There is an attraction to gift that the other person has thought about you. The other person has actually spent their time looking something for you. Has thought physically and mentally about what you would like and what you would dislike. All of that process is very nice. It's a process of connectivity. So I think it's a good thing. Whether you're old or young, it doesn't matter. I know you love gifts.
No, I just said I don't love buying so much.
No,
and
you
I
love
don't,
receiving.
No, not as much. No.
No.
I would prefer an experience now. I think it's more meaningful to me.
I'm going to buy you a parachute jumping very soon as an experience.
That's fine. It's probably better than buying me I don't know, anything else. So
Well, I thought you didn't like heights.
I don't.
So parachute jumping is height.
Well, if that's what you're giving me, you're gonna have to jump with me.
No, I'm not going to jump with you at all. It's only for you.
Anyway, what's your culture of celebrating each other? Where are you with your family? Is there anything you want to do differently? Is there anything you want to keep? Is there anything you want to do more? We have a tradition in our family that every Eid, a week before Eid, we draw names, and we pick a name from the extended family, because this is the only way to manage how big the family is, and it's a secret name, nobody knows, and on Eid day we exchange the gifts, revealing who picked the person, and we give each other gifts.
So everybody gets a gift, and there's no pressure on one person to buy all the gifts for everybody. Can you imagine 35 people in a family? If
and the eldest is responsible for all the gifts.
Or everybody has to buy 35 gifts. It's impossible. It's just going to be a bank. You're going to go bankrupt in no time. That's not expected, actually. So that's a ritual we've created, and that's a good ritual, I think. It's a good culture. And I think it should continue. But if there is somebody that you want to exchange gifts with or give gift without even wanting anything in return, go ahead. Many of my students in this year, my program, alhamdulillah, I received 3 boxes of gifts unknown from, I didn't realize that they were sending it to me. And I was very pleased. One of them was a bookmark, a very nice bookmark for me to use. I was very pleased by that. Somebody else sent me an exercise mat. Hint, hint, I need to get fitter. Alhamdulillah.
I also received some gifts. I received biscuits and chocolate, fudge and coffee, and I received notebooks.
Oh, actually, that was also for me, not only for you. We had both of our names.
Well, you don't like those things.
No, it doesn't
I'm
matter.
told you don't like those things. I like those
Can you
things.
see that? Ladies and gentlemen, we both received the gifts. She's now claimed them. I don't have any say over this. Shireen Malik says that's a good idea. Yes, indeed. It's a very good idea, Shireen Malik. And it's worked for us in our family for the last 10 years or so, since kids have been around.
Yeah, it's really great because you have an anticipation. You can also put forward what is it that you would like as a gift.
Make a wish list.
You can give a couple of options. If you don't want to get something that you would not use, you give a wish list and people can pick and choose.
We don't have in our family the Eid as the Pakistani family has. They normally have, and that is everybody in the family gives cash to the kids. We don't have that in our family culture anyway. We don't give cash. I don't certainly want to give cash to anybody. If I can go out of my way to get something for them, it's fantastic. The other thing of celebration is food. Food always brings families together. If there is any reason why you have to cook food, there's always a reason for it. If you've made a dish, think about the other person, share it with somebody else. You've made some food, give it to your neighbors or your families. That constant connectivity by sharing food is something that really brings families together. My mother has neighbors who are not related to them, but they always share food, and that's how they've come together. And it's been an old tradition, I remember, ever since I was a little boy. I remember neighbors bringing food, us bringing food. Our 2 neighbors on both sides, our Greek neighbors on both sides, one of them is constantly making fresh bread. Every time she makes fresh bread, we get them. Every time she makes some sweets, we get them. Very nice of her. We really, our food is slightly rich for her, so she doesn't eat our food. So we haven't given her as much, but we sometimes give her something that is light that she likes. So neighborly connectivity is very important, but your family is sharing your food is also very nice.
Especially if you're living with multicultural families, when people have different cultures under the same roof, they can share different cuisine, not just the dominant. That is often ends up happening. It's one type of food that families eat. So try different things, spice it up a bit.
My stomach is confused.com. It doesn't know what cuisine we eat at all, because my wife is cooking all sorts of food. Every day she likes cooking. Shireen Malik says, on Eid al-Fitr we give Eidi, but then on Eid al-Adha we try and give gifts. I see, okay.
So you do both Eids. But
yeah.
We don't do anything on the Adha.
We do. Why not?
Last year we didn't do it.
Well, that was our fault. I'll make sure we do it this year.
Oh, no.
Eid al-Adha or Eid al-Fitr. But either way, ladies and gentlemen, food celebration. Do you celebrate food and do you exchange food? That's another question. And finally, do you celebrate events, birthdays? Do you celebrate anniversaries? Do you celebrate exam achievements? Do you celebrate something that has been unique to an individual, an anniversary of somebody? Do you? Some people say, astaghfirullah, birthdays, haram. Astaghfirullah, anniversary is haram. Astaghfirullah, everything is haram as far as they're concerned. I don't subscribe to that idea. Who said birthday is haram? Anyone who says birthday is haram, I'd like to understand why they say it. Why would it be haram? I'm not making a ritual out of it. It's not a religious celebration no, it's remembrance of somebody who was born at a particular date. What's wrong with that? I don't have to mimic an Islamic, in quote unquote, or things that constitute an Islamic practices. Of course I don't. But I can make my birthday celebration very Islamic. No problem. I don't see a reason why we can't. I'll give an example. You have a birthday cake on which you put some candles and you say to everybody, make a wish and blow. That's haram. Because making a wish to your light is resemblance to the light god that the pagans used to celebrate. Get rid of that idea. Have a cake, no problem. There is no need for a wish. You make dua, ya Allah, give this person longer life. Fantastic. Have food, celebrate. I think it's a good idea.
Shireen is saying exam achievements, definitely. Milestone birthdays, absolutely.
What do you mean by milestone birthdays? Mine is coming up very soon, actually.
I know.
Mine is coming up.
Oh, about that.
50th birthday coming up.
You remember your 40th?
Yes, of course I do.
In our old house.
We had a fantastic time, alhamdulillah. 50th birthday is coming up, and inshallah, that would be a milestone. I don't really think. Is it a milestone? 50?
It is half a century.
It's
half a century.
I've been alive for half a century.
So for me, the message I would like to give is, how do you celebrate that you are different people, even though you look similar, or some of you think in a particular way, but there are always similarities between the way you think. And how do you celebrate that? How do you tap into someone's different perspective? For me, this is the biggest challenge, and also the biggest area to growth. When you look at someone thinking, even your husband, oh, he's like me, or he thinks like me, she thinks like me. We don't think like each other. And how do you celebrate the fact that we are different in thinking? That you have got disagreements, and you have got differences, and you've got different points of view. How do you celebrate that? And how can you start seeing and learning from that perspective that your spouse is representing, or your children, or your in-laws, or anyone else in the family? So that would be my message.
And as Karini from Indonesia, I think, or Malaysia, said, agreed, no candles and no wishes. Of course, you should not be wishing anything to the candle or the light. That's pagan. Nothing to do with Islam. If you want to have cakes, no problem. If you want to sing a song with one another, it's not a problem. Eid Mubarak, Mr. and Mrs. Henrietta. Mrs. Henrietta S. and Mr. Masroor, actually.
Nice to have you here. She's all the way from Indonesia. So
Eid Mubarak to you too. Actually, one of my Indonesian friends dropped us some Indonesian desserts.
It was Malaysian.
No, he's Indonesian.
That cake which looks like layered, lots of layers.
Rice cake is called.
Rice cake.
It's very tasty actually, but very sugary. I haven't touched it yet. It's in our fridge. And also some biscuits, salty biscuits with jam, which has sweet jam on top. It was very nice. Shireen says 5th,
13th, 16th, 18th, 21st, 40th and 50th birthday.
Why 13th? I understand 5th. Why 13th? I understand 10th. Why 16th? Why 18th? Why 21st? Shireen, help me. 5th I can understand. 10th I can understand. There is no 10th on your list. But what 13, 16 and 18 got to do with anything else?
I think 18th is becoming an adult.
21st?
21st is that...
When you can drink alcohol? That's what the celebration is all about.
I don't know.
Yes, it is.
13th I don't understand. 16th is probably GCSE.
Sorry, Shireen, I'm not
adulthood, something about
I don't want to be contradicting you, but I don't understand why 13, 16 and 18 and 21st are relevant. I understand that times 5th is fine, a child has become 5, a child has become 10, fantastic. 20th maybe every 10 years, amazing. But 13...
18 probably.
Oh, Ruzi versus 13 become teen? No.
Oh, our children became teen when they were 10, I think.
All different, aren't they? Some become 9 at 9, teenage years, I'm not sure. But anyway, whatever floats your boat, as long as it's not un-Islamic.
Absolutely. I think we're going to be shutting the close.
So some wish for myself. Ruzi Bibi, what is my kachi biryani? That's my wish, right?
No, you have a brother who will
don't worry about him. I'm waiting for Ruzi Bibi to supply us some kachi biryani. Shireen Malik has invited me to her house for nihari.
You like nihari, don't you?
I do, as long as it doesn't have the nihari spice that you buy from the shops.
Garam masala, you mean?
All of those, not for me. Nihari said, whenever I'm in Manchester, I just realized who she's married to, a great friend of mine called Sajjad, Dr. Sajjad. That would be, so that's second. That brother, what was his name? Mutallib?
I can't remember.
He said he's going to supply me.
We will check the name. We will
Kat-
go back on it.
Katib biryani next Eid, inshallah. Shireen says 16th.
16th is GCSE.
Oh, I
that's
see.
what thought.
After they've passed their GCSE exam, celebrate. After they've passed their A-level exam,
it's 18.
celebrate. Amazing. Absolutely. And if they've passed their degree at the age of 21, then celebrate too. I think that's a good idea. So these are
That's
landmarks.
possible.
But I get it now. Alhamdulillah. Shireen Malik says, definitely, I'm coming round
For the nihari, I suppose. Wonderful. So,
Take
what
care.
would be your closing remark, Ajmal?
Celebrate. That's it.
That's it. Celebrate.
Keep celebrating the goodness of your families. What else do you need? Think positively. Try and overcome the difficulties that you're facing, the pains and aches that you carry in your heart. Just try and overcome them and think positively. You'll be fine.
For me, is look into the difference. Always look for the difference and think about it. How does this difference help me to grow as a person?
Ruzi is very clever. You will definitely get some next time when my husband decides to cook. That could be never.
She was very clever. She is really clever. Thank you.
When your husband decides to cook. Well, it's the first time he has decided to cook. After how many years of marriage? Do I have to wait similar? Oh
and
my.
who knows how long it's going to take for him to do that
Ruzi,
again.
I think you're being very clever. Anyway, book to buy. 10 steps to getting married and staying married from our website.
And my book is called Heart Smart. You can get them together. You can get them separately. Get multiple copies. We will send it to you as soon as we get the order.
And we'll sign them, inshallah. Take care of yourself.
Have a lovely week, and inshallah see you next Sunday at 10 o'clock.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.